Do you like to pay full price for hotels? If so, you're in the wrong place, because in this video, we're going to talk all about how to get the best deals and discounts on your next hotel stay. And in this video, I've got a little over 20 tips for you on how, after staying thousands of hotel nights, I've been able to find the best deals. And after decades of experience, I'm sharing my best tips with y'all. And so we're going to start with tip number one here as we put the numbers on the screen. Number one, my first tip is going to be to start with Google Hotels. And Google Hotels is really kind of a new thing that Google's been rolling out over the years. It just keeps getting better and better. And so I'm going to show you how I use Google Hotels to perhaps narrow in on where I want to stay and maybe even look for what some of the cheapest hotels are in the area, at least the public rates that they're advertising. So let's go ahead and bring up the good old Google right here. And if we type in something like hotels, then we're gonna go ahead and get a map right here of some places. And as we do that, then we're gonna see like a city. Here we're gonna see San Diego, but we could go ahead and type in hotels in Tokyo and get some hotels in Tokyo. And you could do this for any city in the world. And what's really great about Google Hotels is you can just kind of like look on the map with what the hotels are, and it shows you prices, and you can stick in dates here. Maybe you're not interested in March, maybe you're interested in going for cherry blossoms. You want to go in the next month, you want to go in April. Let's say we want to go in April to Tokyo. We can go ahead and click in those dates, and then you can see all these different hotels. You can look at them by the map, so you can narrow in and be like, what's this $43 a night one? And you can click on the $43 a night one. You can get some details about it. And you can even, if we come back here, you can sort the list over here on the left by, you can like filter by price. You're like, I'm only interested in the ones that are less than $100 a night. What do I get for that? And you can even sort the list by cheapest too. Where did it stick my sort button? Well, there is a sort button when I was looking at this last time, and you can see what's cheapest. But you know, another way to do that is just slider like, look at this. You can get a hotel in Tokyo for $49 a night. So I think those are pretty neat features. Now, some other interesting features that they have in here, and we're gonna go back and we're just gonna, in this, type in Tokyo, and we're gonna go here, and we're gonna expand this a little bit, and we're gonna take off the filter. Let's take off our filter because we've got our filter right here. So this is where we can sort by lowest price, but you can even see like property type. Maybe you just want to see Japanese style business hotels. You want to see those that offer free cancellation. You want to see particular classes. You want to look for an amenity. There's all these great features in here, but I like these buttons that I want to show you when you haven't filtered it. Or you're just looking at the main page, then you'll see like this, what you'll pay. So you can see hotel price trends. It'll tell you in Tokyo, if you want a 2-star hotel, you'll pay $50 a night. That's a pretty good deal. $71 for 3 stars, $277 4 stars. And boy, if you're getting in the luxury segment like the Park Hyatts, you should expect to pay $605. Now, if you want to know when are the cheapest, well, this isn't when are the cheapest times to visit, but you can kind of infer it from this, when to visit. It gives you weather, but then it also tells you like how busy it is. And you can infer that like, well, maybe November might be some of the most expensive times to go because it might be busy. And then where to stay, you can even like search for areas. You're like, well, let's see, I've heard that Asakusa's cool, and I've heard that Roppongi is cool, and I've heard that Harajuku is cool. And now when you hit apply, the hotels that you're gonna get back are just hotels in those neighborhoods that you've heard are cool, and then you can sort by that list. Because I feel like often the hardest thing to do when you're looking at hotel lists is try to figure out where they are they near. You just get this like unsorted list of things that maybe tells you how far it is from the city center. But I will tell you where this, it works in places like Tokyo, where Google Hotels really falls apart is in places like Las Vegas. Why does it fall apart in Las Vegas? Well, because you look at Las Vegas here, you sort by lowest price, and then you get like hotel here like the Circus Hotel. $26 a night. That's a bargain. And then you go in to view the price for the Circus Hotel, and then you find out like, wow, I can get it for $33. That sounds like a really good price. And then you click on $33, and then you actually find out that it's $149. You're eventually going to click through to find out that there's a huge resort fee that the aggregator doesn't show you. And so that's where Google Hotels really tends to fall apart, is it falls apart in actually telling you what the resort fee is. You got to like click through a few different things to actually find out how much you're really gonna pay, because you're gonna pay, right? See here's where you go. $131 for 4 nights, but that excludes 13% tax, and that also excludes the $42 a night resort fee, which is more than what you paid there. So anyway, beware when you use some of these aggregators for places that have high resort fees, because you gotta like click 20 different things to go ahead and find out what the resort fee is. Okay, so now that we've narrowed in on like kind of maybe some of the hotels we like or we want to stay at, or the neighborhoods, then how do you get those for good deals? Because Google Hotels won't book any of them for you. It'll just redirect you to a bunch of like other sites that you can book it. So then you might go and say, well, Chris, what is your favorite site? And so this is going to bring us to tip number 2, which is my suggestion is to actually check a few different aggregators, and don't just listen to what Google Hotels might actually tell you, because it might not have the right numbers. You got to click through a few of these. But my favorite one is actually a new aggregator. But before I get to that, I want to tell you, when I look at these hotels, you know, there's some reviews in Google, but what I've been typically using in the past for reviews is TripAdvisor. I go to TripAdvisor after I kind of narrow into my hotels, and then I say like, I might type in someplace like Bangkok, and then I scroll down here, and there's like 5,000 hotels in Bangkok. So like, boy, how do you narrow it down from those? Well, maybe you got a few on that list of a geography, and then you want to look in here. I always change this sort from best value to traveler ranked, because then this changes it based on rating. You do have to be careful when you look at these about like which ones are sponsored. This one shows up on top and it shows up as sponsored. And then I go through here and say like, okay, what are the things that float to the top of the TripAdvisor list? And are any of those ones that were on my list that I was looking at before? And so I'll kind of like scroll through this to see if I find any matching things. And then when I get to like, say like this Bangkok Marriott right here, click into it, 2,000 reviews. But one of the things that always worries me about TripAdvisor reviews is I like wonder about the people who reviewed the hotel. I'm like, did the people review the hotel? Are they actually travelers that travel a lot? So do they know hotels? Or are they just like somebody who's traveled once and they love the fact they were staying in a hotel? So I generally don't read through all of the reviews. I generally come down here, the review section, and if I'm looking for like, if I'm looking at Marriott's, for example, then I know that like one of the top level tiers for Marriott's is Titanium members, and so then I'll search the reviews for Titanium. Because I want people who in the review identify themselves as like, well, I'm a high level elite member of this program. I've stayed in a lot of hotels. That's a keyword for it. And let me tell you what I think. And this person who stays in a lot of Marriott says, I didn't like it because I didn't like the lounge experience. I highly recommend this. So that's how I tend to filter and be like, are these people legit reviewers or not? Because at least they've stayed in a lot of hotels. But the new aggregator that just came out, this site just launched about a week ago, that I've been using to get some pretty good deals on hotels, is called planin.com. And what's really neat about planin.com is it is a site that basically focuses on booking hotels using creator reviews as the way to get you there, and creator reviews as the way to like help you filter things to the top. So, you know, if you come in here and you type in Las Vegas on planin.com, and you go ahead and pick a few dates. You pick something like March 19th to 21st, and you hit search. Then it's gonna come back with, that was so not, that was the last one I was looking at. That is so not Las Vegas. Okay, Las Vegas, dates, March 19th to 21st, search. Then you'll get back hotels that are sorted by creator recommendations. So of the creators on the site, 3 creators recommend the Wynn Las Vegas, 2 creators recommend the Venetian Las Vegas, a couple recommend the New York, New York, a couple recommend the Conrad here. And so if we click into the Conrad by Hilton, then what you're actually going to see on here is a pretty steep discount. This actually says it's 37% off the Conrad by Hilton Las Vegas Resorts World. And by the way, if you come down here, you'll find my video review of the Conrad because I'm one of the creators that recommends this hotel. But this deal, this 37% off, how legit is this? It's actually pretty legit. For these same days, I went over to the Resorts World website and searched March 19th to 22nd. And on the public Resorts World website, we're getting room rates that are $320 and up. And over here, you're finding room rates that are cheaper, $194 per night. Now, there will still be a resort fee likely tacked on in this calculation. Though this one says it does include tax and fees. So you got to be a little careful. Some do, some don't. But even if you were charged a resort fee in addition to this, it would still be cheaper than what you found over here. Now, the thing about these rates on planning.com, they're too good to share with the general public. What does that mean? That means if you go to this website and you just search, it's going to ask you to sign in. Because the deal they have with the hotels is to offer these discounts. They can only offer them to a closed user group. And so they do that by making you sign up for it. Plannin doesn't charge anything to make you sign up. You can sign up for a free account. And if you want to, I do have a link in the description of this video that I will also drop in the chat here momentarily so that you can go ahead and sign up if you wish. Now, when you do that, I just want to share like a couple of the other hotels that you can find on plannin.com. And I see some notes in the chat that we'll get to because I am doing this as a live stream. I just want to show you some of the other discounts you can get from here. So like the Hyatt Regency Santa Clara, this is another hotel that I've reviewed and recommended. If you go there, similar dates in March, 15% off. Chris, really? $245 a night? We go to the, I was over at the Hyatt website earlier, and it indeed was more. One of my favorite hotels, the Andaz Maui, a concept by Hyatt, about 15% off. We look at the rooms here on plannin.com, going for $850 a night. And if we look at them on the Hyatt website, the same 2-queen bed is $970 a night. And so you can see even on the Hyatts or the Marriotts or those brands, you can get deals there too. And what was I searching earlier that we started at the beginning of this? You can even get 15% off an overwater bungalow at the Park Hyatt Maldives. I will mention that if you do use the link I dropped in the description to book or sign up for an account, which, by the way, you can sign up for an account now while you're watching this live stream or while you're watching the archive and keep watching. I do earn a small commission from those bookings, but every booking through there does go to help feed the Panda crew right behind me. All right, number 3. What do we got as number 3? We're going to go ahead and take this off the screen share. And number 3 is, all about also, and I've shown you right here, not just checking the aggregators, but also checking the hotel websites directly. And so I want to make sure you get the best deal anywhere you go. And so it might not be on the aggregator. Sometimes it might be on the hotel's website. But one thing to be aware of is the hotel websites, and you should know this, they will say that they have the best rate guaranteed, or they have a best rate guarantee. That does not mean they offer the lowest rate. It does not mean that. What it means is that if you find a rate cheaper and then you call them and go through a whole bunch of steps, they will match the rate if you found a better rate in a public way. So just because you see it and they say best rate guaranteed doesn't mean you're going to find the best rate. You might actually find the best rate on someplace like Plannin or another spot. Now, tip number 4 is to be creative with your searches. If say you're going someplace for a week, you might not find cheap rooms if you search the whole week. Try searching 1 night at a time, 2 nights at a time. See what the availability looks like. We are planning a trip to Banff, and I want to stay in a couple Fairmonts in Banff. And when I was looking at like blocks of 4 or 5 nights at the hotels at the Fairmont in Banff, I was finding them pricing out to like $1,000 a night if I was looking at 5 nights. But when I narrowed my search down to 1 night, I was finding rooms that were $400 or $500 a night. And by doing 1 night at a time, I was able to find 3 nights in a row for $500 each. That was so much better. And I'm like, okay, well, in that case, I'll stay at this Fairmont for 3 nights and then this Fairmont for 2 nights on the nights when they're cheap and not because now there's 1 night that's $1,000, which then prices out my whole thing as $1,000. Really narrow in on those specific nights. Tip number 5 is to bundle your hotel with your flight. Many airlines, Southwest Airlines is an example where you can, as you book your flight, it'll come up and be like, do you want to book a hotel? It is not always a good deal, but it can be a good deal because sometimes the reason why would a hotel offer discounted rates to an airline or to Plan In or these sorts of things? Why would they offer these like private good deals on the hotel rooms? Well, because they don't want to offer them publicly on their website because they've spent a bunch of money advertising their website and they know they're going to get people there. And so they hope to get those people for full price. But they know they're not going to get enough of those people for full price just on the way bookings are going for some set of dates. And so then they start offering discounts through other channels, other places where they're like, well, this person's probably never going to come to my website, so I can offer them a good deal because they never saw the high rates to know and really be like, well, I got a bad deal if I went there. And hotel inventory, if they don't sell it, it's gone. They can't make any money off that the next day. It is a resource that every day they got to try to sell it and try to book out the hotel. And so that's why you'll often find inexpensive rates and bundles or these private deals. Now, tip number 6 for you is to keep checking the rate. The rate might actually become lower as the date gets closer. And this might be one where you're like, Chris, how's that really possible? But I'll tell you, in particular, a few years back when we were going to Zion National Park in Utah, we booked the Spring Hill Suites right out in front of the gate in the town of Springdale. And I think it was like high $300 a night when I booked it 3 months out. And, every week I'd go and check the rate, and my cancellation was like 72 hours before. And so on the 3rd day before I was to check in, I went back and checked the room rate. And you know what? It wasn't $300 anymore. It was $250. And so what did I do? I just went into Marriott.com. I said modify reservation. I selected the same dates again. I repriced it for $100 less per night than it was before. Why did they drop the rates so much? Because they weren't getting bookings. And so they're like, well, we'll hope to at least get some last minute bookings by dropping the rates this low. Chances are most people aren't going to look to see that they're cheaper. They locked it in. We know how people work. But if you look and do it right around that cancellation window, because that's when you have the ability to be flexible and rebook. We're going to go to tip number 7 here in a moment, but let's go ahead and go to some of the comments on the live stream. Kathy made it on the live stream. Great, Kathy. Are you on the cruise ship now? Are you still in Taipei? Where are you? Kathy's enjoying a big adventure right now. So awesome. Brandon says, how often do you check the rates for the prices? I mean, it really depends, like where I'm going, how overpriced I thought it was, how much I think they'll drop. But I will say that if I'm booked about 3 months out, I might check weekly if I really think it's a hotel that'll drop. I might check monthly if I'm being particularly lazy, or I might just look at the cancellation date and check just a few days before. But I will always, regardless of whether I checked weekly or monthly leading up to something, I will always check on that window the day of cancellation or the day before cancellation, because that's when it is most likely to have dropped. And Alex in the chat has just been an Explorer for 8 months. Awesome, Alex. So thank you for supporting Yellow Productions. Sherry says, I check rates daily for hotels and flights when I'm planning trips. All right, that's a proactive Explorer right there. Kristen says, do you have to use a private browser when looking up rates for hotels? Like you have to use a private browser when looking for flights? I don't think you have to. I used a private browser here when I was doing my screen share, just so that I didn't leak all of my user IDs and passwords to all y'all. All of y'all are cool, but you know, it's the like the hackers that are gonna watch this later to figure out how they can get in the Yellow Productions miles and points things, and I'd rather keep them out. Thank you very much. But on that notion, actually, like for plan-in, you really need to be signed in and not in an incognito browser. So, and like the same thing with a lot of these like loyalty programs, things like that. Like if you're signed in, you often get like better rates, but you might get worse rates. So you might try it both ways, right? Like I don't know, hotel rates, much like flights, you can be like, if I book it this way in this channel while standing on one leg, I can get a deal. But if I do it this way, then it's a different price. So it is worthwhile to be a little creative. All right. And Kathy says she is sitting in the buffet on the cruise. Right on, Kathy. And Points Traveler says, just joined plan-in. Let's go. Awesome, Points Traveler. All right. So let's go on to tip number 7, which my tip number 7 to make your rates a little cheaper is to book a non-refundable or prepaid rate. Okay, let's talk about this for a moment. Now, I've just talked about, like, I generally book the refundable rates so that I can check them and see as they go down. Because I also don't know, like, what happens in the world of travel. We tend to, like, things happen in our lives, and we have to reschedule things, and we have to do different things. And so when we do that, it's really useful to have a flexible rate that you can cancel or you can change, get your money back, no questions asked. If you're going someplace in 3 days from now, you know, you're like pretty certain you're gonna go, by all means, book the non-refundable rate and get yourself 10 to 20% off. Tip number 8. Okay, how spontaneous do you feel to get a good deal? Book the same day. Okay, this doesn't always work. If you're going to destinations that are like really busy, like you're going to Las Vegas on New Year's Eve, don't wait until the same day to book. But if you're going to some place like San Francisco, which is a big business town, and you're going there on a weekend in February when nobody's there, hotels are gonna be empty. And particularly if you wait until after 4 p.m., which is like check-in time, that's when many hotels put their inventory on like fire sale. That's where they're like, okay, well, here is our last chance, you know? It's the check-in time, it's the deadline, anybody who's here is here, we've got the rooms cleaned, and you know what? There's 50 rooms that nobody's coming into tonight. We usually sell them for $400. Let's let them go for $150 just so we can put some people in those beds. Now, that's not a typical like 400 to 150, but on average, the same day rate at a hotel, and I was reading a report about this, is 10% cheaper than if you book in advance. And then there's also like websites that like specialize in last minute inventory. One example is Hotels Tonight. And in particular, the Hotels Tonight app, I like to keep on my phone, particularly if I'm stuck in an airport. What I mean stuck in an airport, well, you're someplace, you have a connecting flight, you misconnect for some reason, and I don't sit around and wait for the airline to put me in a really sucky Holiday Inn. I'm gonna just book a hotel myself because it's not worth their free hotel to have my bed bugs or whatever I get from the free hotel. The free hotels that airlines give you, generally not very good, and so for Chris's sanity, I'll just go and book one myself. And when I do that, it's useful to have some of those apps to be like, oh, last minute inventory. Now, one other like super pro tip here. If you're in an airport and there's been like a weather delay or you've misconnected, you can often go to the airlines and ask them if they have any hotel booking advice for distressed travelers. And many airlines will have special cards or special codes that you can use with hotels in the area to get significantly discounted rooms. One of the places that those are often kept is in the baggage offices, because where's the last place you often go in an airport? baggage claim. And so in the baggage office, you can stop in there and be like, hey, I misconnected. Do you have any distressed traveler vouchers or distressed traveler hotel discounts for hotels tonight? And they're typically different ones for different nights. So if you got the one from last night, that code won't work tonight. I've used that in Dallas more times than I would want. Kathy says, I would never book same day. I'm a planner and I need to be organized. I'm a super planner too, Kathy, until those hotel situations and flights being canceled happen, and then I would like a place to sleep that is not the airport. Adriana says, we found there's a big difference if you book 6 months in advance. Adriana, tell me more. You find they're more expensive if you book 6 months in advance, or you find they're cheaper if you book 6 months in advance? And Cottage Full of Love says, I hate the word non-refundable. I don't like that word either. All right. And Security says, what brand of watch are you using? Casio G-Shock yellow watch. Right there. That's what I am using. And Richard gives a data point right here. He says, I rebooked the Horseshoe Las Vegas 3 times, dropping from $69 to $43 a night. Every little bit matters because of the resort fee, which was probably the same price as your room, right? $43 resort fee, $45 resort fee, $43 room fee, something like that. But Richard, thank you for sharing that advice to let people know that I'm not the only one that does that. I'm glad you figured it out too. What's Chris drinking today? Chris today is drinking Honey and Lemon by Suntory. So, for relaxing times, make it Suntory time. Wow, this is a very sweet lemonade. The Japanese don't really like sour. This is a product of Japan right here. Lemon juice, honey, vitamin C, and lemon flavor. There we go. This is my favorite flavor. Lemon flavor. Adriana says much cheaper 6 months in advance. I think it can depend on where you're going and the hotel, but I will definitely offer a data point on this related to like when to book. So we're planning this Banff trip, which if you don't know what Banff is, this is B-A-N-N-F-F. How many N's? How many F's? I don't know. There's a lot of N's and there's a lot of F's, but it's like one of Canada's big national parks. And so a ton of people go. It's like the season's really short. So like the June, July, August is the like high season in Banff, and that's when everybody wants to go. And so the hotels can be like exorbitantly expensive in those months. And so what we did for travel planning purposes was Chris says, well, when do people usually plan their summer vacations? They usually plan them after Christmas. They usually plan them in like January timeframe. They're like, okay, I've been through this year, the kids are back to school, it's now the new year, let's go ahead and plan summer. So when did we book? We booked in December before all of those people start booking their hotels. And yes, if you can get in before the floods of people get in, hotel prices can absolutely be a lot cheaper. As we've looked at the room rates for the dates that we've picked, going 3 months here in the future, they are probably 30 to 40% more than they were in December when we booked them. And so I don't know that there's a rule of thumb to be like 6 months, but you can also do this like thing to be like, well, when do you think people start booking for that place and that season? And then just like try to get ahead of that, right? Like that, the tip is definitely to like try to book some of the early rooms in the hotel before they've had a lot of bookings, because that's when the hotel and the software algorithms that price the hotels are like, nobody's booking, so we should make them cheap. And then when they see a lot of bookings, then the price goes up. And then when they don't see a lot of bookings anymore, then the price goes down. And a question if anybody visits Canada anymore. I like visiting Canada, so yes, we are still going to Canada. Reginald comments saying that he got a free hotel night at an Outrigger hotel just by booking through the Delta Airlines app. Fantastic data point, Reginald. Thank you for sharing that. Was that because you were booking your flight and you booked it in connection, or is that because you were distressed? Tell me a little bit more about how you got to that free hotel night. And Kristen says, what do you have planned to do in Banff? Probably a subject for a future video, but we haven't all planned it out yet. We have hotels booked. We've not booked flights. We've not booked any of those things, but we're like because I generally don't book flights 6 months out. I generally book flights about 3 months out. So we're going to do that soon, but we wanted to get the hotels locked in because I knew those were going to go up in price since this is about hotels. All right, Tip number 9 to get deals and discounts on hotels is to bid on a room. If you don't care where you stay, then you know what? Absolutely use Priceline.com to bid on a hotel, So Priceline.com, if we go ahead and do like a screen share right here, you say like, hey, where do I want to go to? You say like, hey, I want to go to like Tokyo, Japan, and maybe I want to go over here, and maybe you want to find your hotel. And the interesting part of Priceline.com is like they've generally like gone away. They're like, I don't know, people don't like to bid on hotels, but you can find their price breakers. They've got some of these things, and so you definitely like can get their best discounts if you like bid on a hotel. You're like, I don't really care where I stay, and if you don't care where you stay, absolutely by all means go ahead and do that. I care where I stay, so I don't do that. All right. Tip number 10, buy gift cards. I've been known to do this one. So you can often find gift cards to the big chain hotels, Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, Holiday Inn, IHG, at places like Costco or various sites online for 10% off. And you're like, Chris, 10% off? Well, if your hotel stay is $1,000 and that only costs you $900 now because you got 10% off when you bought the gift cards, that's a pretty good deal. I will say that if you're buying the gift cards, one, do not buy them third party. Do not buy resale gift cards because you got no idea whether those gift cards are going to work. I mean, if you're into more risk, you can absolutely get hotel gift cards for an even steeper discount if you buy resale. You just won't know that they're actually good. So I am definitely, like, we got a bunch of travel planners here. We got conservative people. We want them to work. So buy them from legitimate sources and then buy them when you're like, I know I'm going to book. So I know I'm going to book the Marriott. Now I'll buy my Marriott gift cards. Now I'll use them. They offer them for a discount because they know a lot of times people buy them and then they sit on a shelf and they never use them. And then there goes your money down the drain because you lost the gift cards. Buy them, use them. Don't buy gift cards to use them as an investment. Related to Banff, Todd says, if you're planning to stay at the Fairmont in Banff, I just watched a review and it looks phenomenal. We are planning to stay at both Fairmonts in Banff. There's a Fairmont Banff Springs and there's a Fairmont Lake Louise, and we're going to be staying at both Fairmonts. That's a big part of why we plan to go to Banff is we stayed at the Fairmont in Whistler. 5 Tophers right there. We loved it. And so we're like, we gotta go explore some more of these great Canadian Fairmonts. Okay. Tip number 11 to get deals and discounts on hotels is to get the hotel's credit card. If the hotel brand that you're staying with offers a credit card, take a look at that, particularly if you're going to be staying at the hotel a lot. Because, by having the credit card, you might not get discounts off the room rates, but you might get additional perks that might make it a good deal to stay there. Like you might get free breakfast, or you might get late checkout, or you might get free parking just for having the credit card. Great example in Las Vegas. If you have the MGM credit card, then you can get free parking staying at MGM hotels. And you'll generally earn more rewards points for staying if you use your affiliate hotel credit card when you stay there. We're going to talk more about hotel points in a moment, but one example of a hotel credit card that's offering like a really great sign-up bonus is the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless credit card. This video is not sponsored by Marriott or Chase or whoever the partner is offering this one. It might be Amex, either Amex or Chase, but their welcome offer, if you sign up for this credit card for U.S. citizens, is that you can earn 5 free nights at Marriott's after you spend $5,000 on purchases in the first 3 months from account opening. So like you sign up for the credit card and you get 5 nights at Marriott's, right? That's another way to get a great deal, is to get free nights. And many hotel credit cards, like I have the World of Hyatt credit card, I have the personal one, and I have the business one, and each of them comes with a free night at certain category Hyatt hotels. I have like 3 of the Marriott credit cards. Each one of those comes with a free night at Marriott hotels. And then you go like, Chris, is it really free because you pay a $95 annual fee? Okay, so I paid a $95 annual fee. But, we used our free night certificate at the Phoenix Airport Marriott last weekend. We went to Sedona, and if I would have paid cash for that hotel, it would have been $250. So even if I didn't do anything else with this credit card other than use the free night, I've saved $150 on that hotel, which would have been $250, paying the $95 and just getting the free certificate if all I did was put that credit card on my shelf. I see a comment right here about Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts. So let's go ahead and talk about that now because that is tip number 12. So my tip number 12 is to use other credit card perks. There are more credit cards than just the hotel credit cards that you can get hotel deals and perks on. The big offers that have credit card perks, that have hotel perks with their credit cards are American Express, Chase, Citibank, and Capital One in the USA. Amex is in more places in the USA, and so I'm going to start with this one because American Express is more applicable to more people. So the American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts, let me go ahead and pull this up so we can do a little bit of a screen share. So the people who can use American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts are folks that have the American Express Platinum card. Only members of the Platinum card or the Black card too. If you've got the Centurion card and you can afford the $10,000 annual fee. But some of the hotels that are on offer with the Platinum card, like here, you can book. They have two. They have this thing called Fine Hotels and Resorts, and they got the Hotels collection. These are some of the favorites. But if we look at the Andaz Fifth Avenue, you'll see they offer you a complimentary fourth night if you book through here. But if we look at the Andaz Scottsdale, and then we click into this, it says, well, hey, if you book it on Amex.com, logged in with your Platinum card membership, then you will get a 12 p.m. check-in, early check-in. You'll get a room upgrade at check-in. You'll get a daily breakfast for 2. You'll get an experience credit, and you'll get a 4 p.m. checkout guaranteed. And then you go and say, well, how much is it? And this is one that they tend to make you log in to see a lot of the prices, which since I haven't pre-logged in, I'm probably not going to go ahead and do that. But then you got to go and say, well, is the rate worth it? Is it better to pay this rate? Because this rate might actually be more than the rate that Hyatt sells it for on their website. And it might be more than you pay on Planin.com since they offer it with a discount. But then you got to weigh, are these perks worth it for you? And when we stayed at the Fairmont Whistler Hotel, we booked it with the Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts rate. And we were upgraded to a Fairmont Gold Room, which was a phenomenal upgrade that I'm certain we only got because we booked it using the Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts rate. The one thing I don't like about Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts is that, I don't know, their booking system must be antiquated from the 1920s or something like that, because you can't change a reservation. If you make a 5-night reservation with Amex, you can't go change it and make it to 4 nights. You just have to cancel it and book another one, which means that if you want to shorten it, but the roommates aren't available anymore, and you can't. Where normally with most sort of things, you can go and say, well, if I've got 5 nights, can I make it 4? Sure, because you're just chopping 1 night off that. But I've not found that to be an ability with Amex Fine Hotels Resorts. And to cancel them, you have to call the call center in India, which takes 30 minutes every time you want to cancel a reservation. So do beware on those 2 data points on Fine Hotels and Resorts. There's also the American Express has these things called offers, which they'll load in your account, or you have to go in and activate them. They're kind of like coupons, except if you use your American Express card, then you can get $50 off, $500 purchase at Hilton Hotels or things like that. So do look if you have an Amex card in the Amex offers section of your account. Chase offers similar things. Chase has Chase offers that maybe you get $50 off $500 at Marriott hotels. The Citi Prestige card is an interesting one because if you have the Citi Prestige card, they have this benefit where you can book 3 nights at a hotel. You have to book it through Citibank's travel booking partner, and then you can get the 4th night free. You can do this up to 2 times in a year. But that was actually when we stayed at the Andaz that has like exorbitant room rates per night. We paid for the first 3 nights, and then we got the 4th night free. Worked out to be a pretty good deal. But that's another one where you gotta like weigh the like, are their prices more? Plus I get the other night. Okay. Adriana says, I paid my trip to Puerto Vallarta with Southwest points. So happy. And we will certainly talk more about points, but using points is definitely a great way to do it too. Rizmaster says, I have the Chase Ritz card and will be getting the Amex Hilton Aspire card soon. I love the free night vouchers. Yeah, and like you can like stack all of them together, and you can look at the personal credit cards and you can look at the business credit cards, and all of a sudden you're like, I got a lot of free nights coming to me. I need to go more places. Okay. Tip number 13 to get deals and discounts on hotels is coupon codes and affiliations. And here on lucky number 13, I need to drink again. Okay. So let's start with affiliations, and then we'll go on to coupon codes. So your affiliations could be things like you're a member of AAA, or you're a member of AARP, or you're a senior citizen, or you're in the military, or you're retired military. Many hotels will offer discounts to people in those categories. AAA is certainly one of the like ones that is most prolific. If you're a member of AAA, like Hilton has like a 5% discount for AAA members. Hyatt has 10% discount for AAA members. Marriott 5% or more for AAA members. I actually do often book the AAA rate because like you go and check the public rates, and you click the AAA rate, and you're like, oh, I can save like $20 a night. And you know what? These rates will often say like, oh, you got to have like proof of your AAA card. And boy, I think in the like 50 AAA rates that I've booked, like one time I've been asked for my card. I legitimately have a AAA card because I want to make sure somebody can come and fix my flat tire because I'm not that handy if I get a flat on the road. But this even works in Vegas. If you stay at MGM hotels will give you 10% off if you're a AAA member. So take a look through those. Another affiliation is perhaps through your work. If you work for a big company, like maybe you work for IBM or something like that, or Amazon, these big companies often have codes, like discount codes that you can use with hotel chains. So they're things that, you know, maybe you can ask your HR department if that's a benefit, or your big company, or maybe there's like a portal for employee deals or something you can ask the travel department. People have been known to use coupon codes that are just out there on the internet that maybe who knows where these coupon codes come from or who's eligible for them. But there are people who maintain lists of coupon codes. I'm not encouraging you to use coupon codes that you're not eligible for. But if you search for frequent flyer blogs, or you search Flyer Talk, which is a big frequent flyer forum, then you can often find a lot of these discount codes. I will tell you where this falls apart really rapidly. I was at a frequent flyer convention that was being held at the Sheraton by LAX Airport in Los Angeles. And apparently everybody who was going to this conference knew that the best rate you give this hotel was the IBM code. If you use the IBM rate, it was like half the price of the regular rate. And because like half the people staying at this hotel or more were here at this frequent flyer conference, half the hotel looked at it and be like, you know, it's funny. It seems like half the hotel staying here works for IBM. How is that possible that there's so many IBM employees at the hotel? And so, of course, then the hotel asks them all for their proof that they work for IBM, and of course none of them had it. And then the hotel goes like, well, we're gonna charge you full price, which is more than you would have paid if you booked the regular rate. So anyway, I say that as a cautionary tale to you to be careful for using coupon codes that you are not eligible for. Also, consider using flexible date searches. If you like look at the day and it says like, oh, we're not eligible for the AAA rate, many hotel sites will allow you to do flexible days that you can look at like a calendar and see like, okay, well, when is that rate available? And then finally, consider looking at resident rates. For example, Las Vegas also often offers deals to California residents. In Hawaii, many hotels offer deals for Hawaii residents, like it's staycations. So you can take a look for offers related to where you're resident of. In that case, you generally have to produce a driver's license or proof that you actually live in that place. Tip number 14 to get deals and discounts on hotels is to take up on the timeshare offers. Chris, haven't you told me to not do timeshare offers, like that's a scam? For most people aren't interested in the timeshare offers because they take a lot of time out of your vacation. But, I get these postcards in the mail to be like, come to Maui. We'll give you flights and 5 nights at the Westin for $299. All you got to do is attend our timeshare presentation. That's a good deal. I'll tell you, I don't do it because it's not worth it for me to go sit in the timeshare sales presentation, but you can find some fantastic deals if you are willing to do it. Jose says, hey Chris, is Airbnb good for hotel use? Airbnb, I feel like, used to be a good deal 5 years ago. In most cases, Airbnb is not a very good deal at this point, unless you are looking for like some place to stay for like a month. If you're looking for like a really long-term thing, then you might find some good Airbnbs in that sweet spot. But generally for like a couple days at an Airbnb, I've seen some studies that talk about it to say like Airbnbs are often more expensive in the couple day range than comparable hotel properties. Painkiller agrees with me and says, I don't like it. It's not cheap anymore. You don't know what you're getting, fees, and sometimes you're asked to do chores like clean up and take out the trash and all those things, and I agree. Tampa Travel says, corporate codes for rentals are very dangerous. If you get in an accident and don't work for that company, it can void protections. I think Tampa Travel is talking about car rentals, and so that's a really great point too. Okay. Tip number 15, help you save money. So these are like, so now my tips here are more like, we're getting into the like less specific ones about like use this site or use this coupon code or use this technique, but these are more like states of mind to look at about like, so how do you find the diamond in the rough? How do you find the place that deal is? Where do you go? And the first one is like, I'm gonna say be flexible. And so this is like, go where people aren't. This is the rules of opposites. If you're going to a business destination and you're going there on a weekend, then you're gonna get good rates because nobody else is there. Because the business travelers go on the weekdays, like if you're going to San Francisco or New York City, those places have high hotel rates driven up by all the business travelers. And so if you go on the weekend when the business travelers aren't, then the hotel rates are going to be really cheap. If you're going to a resort like Las Vegas, where everybody goes on the weekend, then you go on the weekday. The cheapest days of the week generally to go to Vegas, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you can even consider this within a single city. Like if you're coming to San Diego, the beach in the summer will be expensive, but the beach in San Diego in the winter will be cheap. But if you're staying inland in San Diego, like by the zoo, hotel's probably the same price all year round. But, in December, nobody wants to be by the beach because it's cold in December. It's not really, but, perceived as cold because people don't go for a beach vacation. So those hotels are trying to drive the rates down. My favorite one of these is like Newport, Rhode Island. I like Newport, Rhode Island as a destination. I really enjoy the Marriott Hotel in Newport, Rhode Island. In the summer, the hotel can be like $500 a night, and in the winter, it's like $150 a night. So you can get some pretty good deals if like you have that mindset. Tip number 16 is to look at new hotels. Hotels that have just opened generally have really low occupancy level and often offer prices well below the competition to get people in. I stayed at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Las Vegas like 2 weeks after they opened, and when I, in my review, said I paid like $200 a night, everybody was like, Chris, how did you get that rate? Because like when I look, they're $500 a night. because I booked the room at the Fontainebleau on the day that they opened for booking, which was a month before they opened. And you know what? They've got like thousands of rooms, and they had to book thousands of rooms. And how do they do that? By offering prices that are cheap. Even same things for hotels that are like open. You know, many, like the hotels that are not new but have been open for a long time, you know, they've had like a whole year to accumulate bookings for any given day. But a hotel that's only been open for a month hasn't had that long to accumulate bookings for that day. And so you might have to put up with things like at the Fontainebleau, their pool wasn't open because it was new. So I probably didn't get as good of a deal as if the pool was open. But if you're willing to put up with like maybe the hotel's not done, I think you'll get a good deal. Tip number 17 is perhaps look at places that are other than the major chains, particularly internationally. If you're like in the USA, you know, big brands, Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, Holiday Inn, I've referenced them a lot here. Outside of the US, like in Europe or Asia, the big American chains tend to be the most expensive. And so look at some of the other ones. Look at the local chains. If you're going to Japan, stay at Toyoko Inn or JR Hotels. If you're going to Taiwan, stay at K Hotel. It's a local chain that'll cost you a third of the price of the big chains. And you know what? They're often pretty good too. They might have different cultural perspectives. You might not get the big Western breakfast with pancakes and British tomatoes and beans that you're expecting. But if you're willing to be like, all right, let me live by the locals, then you can save 2/3 of the price. Tip number 18, we've talked a lot about coupon codes, but this one is like looking for promotions. And you can find promotions not just on the hotel's website, although that's a great source, and they'll usually have a tab on their website called like promotions, but on places like TravelZoo or Groupon, you might find promotions like stay 3 nights, get 1 free, but you do have to be aware of that because sometimes hotels jack up the price on those 3 nights, so the free one doesn't turn out to really be free, or find things like a free breakfast or resort credit, or maybe get more points promotions, or get elite status faster promotions where you didn't actually save money on the rate, but you got these other perks then you can use on the back end to get more free hotels. So those are something to keep in mind too. Tip number 19 is to stay for a long time and book in advance. Those are two different things, but like on the booking 6 months in advance, there are many hotels that will offer advanced booking rates. Like if you book a month in advance, you get 5% off. And if you book 2 months in advance, you get 10% off. And if you book 3 months in advance, you get 15% off. Or long stay rates, particularly if you're going to maybe like ski destinations or resort destinations where they're like, well, if you stay 1 or 2 nights, it's regular price. But if you stay 3 nights, we give you 5% off. And if you stay 4 nights, we give you 10% off. And if you stay 5 nights, we give you 15% off. A hotel like this that's not like a ski resort sort of thing, the Hotel Century Southern Tower in Shinjuku, one of my favorite hotels in Tokyo, offers both these kinds of rates, or at least in the past when I've stayed there. I don't know what they do right now because I haven't booked there in the last few years since COVID. But before when I would go, they would offer both sets of those. There were early booking rates, and then there were also long-term stay rates. Tip number 20 is to be creative in where you stay. We've had a lot of conversation about Airbnb. In addition to Airbnb, Narrow Road says there's also VRBO, which are vacation rentals by owner. Narrow Road points out that like those can be good in places where there's very few hotels. But Painkiller points out and says, hey, I don't mind hostels for short trips, especially if it's a small dorm. So this being creative, right? You can look at, if you, like when you search the hotel sites, you search TripAdvisor, you might not find bed and breakfasts. You might not find hostels. You might not find capsule hotels. You won't find overnight trains. You know, Amtrak has like sleeper trains. In Japan, there's sleeper trains. There's sleeper buses. You could get a day room someplace and sleep in the day and stay up at night. So be creative at where you stay and you might find a diamond in the rough. 21, I started talking about points, so use points. Like a great way to stay for free is to use points. Okay, you gotta earn the points somehow. How do you earn the points? Well, I talked about the credit card signups before. I talked about staying at hotels. You can transfer points from airlines, those sorts of things. There's a ton of ways to earn hotel loyalty points. I I do have to point out that like hotel points are not really a great currency to like invest in, because the hotel chains keep devaluing them, and so they're worth less and less and less. They're the worst currency to invest in. Really, for hotel points and airline miles, earn and burn. You know, as soon as you've got enough points to stay a few nights someplace, go ahead and use it so that you don't end up sitting on a bunch of points that are like worthless or worth half as much as the next year. If you're using points, I'll tell you, don't get suckered into the premium rooms. You know, you might find that like one hotel, like the regular rooms are 50,000, but you can book a suite for only 1 million points a room. Like, that's crazy talk, you know? So like, make sure you're actually kind of like getting your money's worth for that. If you want to know if you're getting your money's worth, the Points Guy, thepointsguy.com typically has valuations for every hotel's currency to say like, if you're getting a good deal, you should be getting at least 1 cent per point in this currency. Like 1 cent per point for Marriott's or 2 cents per point for Hilton's. Those aren't the point values. Those are just examples, but that's a way you can look and say, hey, am I getting a good deal at this particular hotel or not? And finally, 22, if you've experienced an issue, then absolutely let the hotel know. You might get a discount, or you might even get a refund if you're like your toilet backs up or the room wasn't what you thought or things like that. I'm not telling you to be the complainer in chief and to be nasty about it, but like if you've really experienced an issue, let them know and see what they do for you.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, fellow explorers, those are my 22 tips. But what tips do you have? I am always learning, so if you've got a tip that I didn't toss out there, then hit me up and let me know too, in addition to let me know what your questions are. Sean says, will hotels, particularly Cosmopolitan, waive resort fees upon checking out if I move up in tiers during my stay? Doubtful, Sean, doubtful. That is wishful thinking. And Brian Fisk says, 5 minutes ago, I canceled a Marriott hotel for 35K points and saved $440 for that night. Because you rebooked it or you refared it, or you just decided you weren't going. Is that how you saved it? Points Traveler says, what Amex fine hotels and resorts property would you recommend in Vegas? Oh gosh, I guess I need to actually search Vegas for what those properties are. to tell you that, because I don't know them off the top of my head. But if we go ahead and do this, so there are 13 hotels on Amex, but these are the hotel collections. These are not fine hotels or resorts. So we got Croxford's, Four Seasons, Palazzo, Waldorf Astoria, Wynn, and Encore. My two favorites of that list are the Wynn, and the Venetian's not on the list, but the Palazzo is. So those are my two favorites on that list, the Wynn and the Palazzo. And then probably my third favorite would be the Waldorf Astoria. I like the Waldorf Astoria because it's a non-gaming property, so you can get in and out pretty easy. So there we go. Junk. Okay. Liz in Arizona says, my husband always asks for a discount when there's any problem we encounter at hotels. And Liz, what's his win rate? Does he get them? Does he get the discounts? Or he just asks and he never gets them? Let us know. Brian says, I used 35,000 points instead of a cash price of $400,000. Bonus! That's a super good deal. Always good to save $400. Kathy says, great tips. Chris, thank you very much. And then Sean says, what is your favorite hotel of all time? My favorite hotel of all time is the I didn't stick this on the screen, did I? Sean says, what's your favorite hotel of all time? My favorite hotel of all time right here, the Andaz Maui at Wailea Resort. It's just my favorite. I love the beach. I love the hotel. I love everything about it. I don't love the price because it's not cheap. Sometimes you can get it for much cheaper. I find rates maybe down $600 a night. There's a great one to use Hyatt points for. There's also a great one to use the plan-in discount, 15% off the rates that they're often offering at Hyatt.com. I'm going through getting all my recommendations into planning.com. This will be one that Yellow Productions will recommend soon too. Oh, by the way, creators, if you're a creator and you're looking to say hey, how can I get on Planning and how can I get my reviews up there? I will drop a link in the description of this video, or there might even be one right now that you can click to join if you would like to be a creator too. They do vet the creators, and so they look at you to make sure you are a creator and you have some legitimate travel this and that, so that they make sure they curate the things that get there. But I know I have many of creators that are watching the live stream and watch the archive, and so hit that if you're interested. Okay. And Liz says her husband gets hotel deals and discounts every time because he's a keeper. All right, good deal. Kristen says, I want to go to Maui now. Awesome, me too. Norman says, would you ever stay in a capsule hotel? Could you in a boat? I would not eat green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am. I have no desire to stay in a capsule hotel. I am a very light sleeper. I've watched videos of people that have stayed in capsule hotels, and they're hot and they're noisy, and they're not for me. Josephus says, our winner of our shirt last week, congratulations, Josephus, says, how strict are hotels during checkout? Do you get penalized if you're 15 to 30 minutes over? Do they really check which food you took from the fridge? Two different questions. But I think related to hotel checkout, it really depends on the hotel. I mean, if you're staying at a big hotel, they're generally not super strict, about 15 to 30 minutes. If you're in Japan, they are super strict, about 30 minutes. I once went to a hotel in Japan and I was like, can I check out at 11? Can I check out at 11:30? And they're like, yeah, that'll be what? I can't do my math on the fly. The equivalent of $20. They were going to charge me for 30 minutes of late checkout. I'm like, y'all are crazy. But, at some point, hotels will start knocking on your door, usually at checkout time, if it's 11, to be like, are you leaving? And if you're like, yeah, I'm just packing up. I'm getting out of here in 15 minutes or whatever, they'll be like, oh, okay, all right. I definitely, one things I like about the elite programs, I was just at a JW Marriott, and I've stayed at Marriott's a lot, so I'm titanium at Marriott, which means I get 4 p.m. late checkout at Marriott's, and it's nice when I've got a 6 p.m. flight to be able to get a 4 p.m. late checkout without an extra fee, and then just okay, now I'm ready. I can go out and do my stuff, and I can come back to my room. I don't have to put my stuff in my car, check my stuff at the front desk. So anyway, those are things when you look at do I really need a late checkout? If you have a late flight, it can totally be super worth it. Jake says, I've got some Hilton Honors points to burn and going to Japan in May. What's the best Hilton hotel in Tokyo? I've not stayed at a ton of Hiltons in Tokyo. One I've looked at was the Conrad, though I never stayed there. But it looks to be pretty nice, at least from all the stuff I've read about it. But if we've got fellow explorers that have stayed at Hiltons in Japan and they can help a fellow explorer out, let Jake know. Diana asked if I stayed at the Ventana Big Sur, which is a Hyatt affiliate. No, it is an adults-only hotel, so not for us until the Curious Princess gets a little bit older. Sid says, how long does it take to hotel to refund your deposit if you cancel a reservation? I put it on a credit card. Many of the big chains will refund it right away, in a day or two or something like that, because sometimes it just takes that long for things to hit, but usually they're pretty quick. John asks if Japan is underrated as a destination. I don't think so. It's one of my favorite destinations. Underrated? Overrated. It is not overrated. Japan is not overrated. Derek says, have you ever been to Peru? Not yet. Anthony says, how is Hotel Angelito? I don't know. I've never stayed there. Points Traveler says, it'd be the Conrad Tokyo. Points Traveler is definitely a frequent traveler that likes to use points, so I would trust Points Traveler's suggestion right there. There's more outdoors, says we've finally caught a live stream from Chris, 11:30 here in Ohio. Welcome to the live stream. PTVS says, put the do not disturb sign on your room the day you check out so they don't come knocking on your door. Housekeeping, I always do that. The day I'm checking out, I always put the do not disturb sign on the door. and then like take it off as I go out the door. Paint Killer says Japan is rated, not underrated. All right. John says, would you choose Kyoto or Tokyo if you had to choose one place to stay? Tokyo. I would say in Tokyo. I just like all the stuff there is in Tokyo. It's a metropolis. There's 30 million people. There's so many things to do. Kyoto, in my mind, gets boring after a while. Like, how many temples can you really see? I love the temples. Don't get me wrong. I love temples. I love the traditional Japanese stuff. But Kyoto is not a big place. And so there's way more to do in Tokyo. Points Traveler says Palazzo or Venetian. I have never stayed in a Palazzo room. I've stayed in the Venetian tower rooms, and I've stayed in the Venezia tower rooms, like the 2 towers at the Venetian, but I've yet to stay at a Palazzo room. All right, should we do the giveaway? Let's do the giveaway.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, fellow explorers, in every live stream, I always give away a Yellow Productions crew shirt to somebody who answers one of my questions correctly. And to answer my question correctly, you need to let me know when I was going through the plannin.com hotel deals, there was a Hyatt Regency that I showed that you could get 15% off at. What city was that Hyatt Regency in? And if you can answer that question correctly, then you will win that Yellow Productions crew shirt shipped anywhere to you. If you don't get to win one, well, hey, you can buy one. You can pick one up in the Yellow Productions shop. You'll find a link in the description below. And if you wonder, Chris, when is the next live stream? You can sign up for the Yellow Productions update, where I'll send you an email every time I've got a live stream, when it's scheduled, what it's going to be, so you know when you can go ahead and join in. All right, I see some answers coming in for the question, and I see...
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
All right, there are 2 correct answers so far, but the first one was from Diana. Congratulations. Yes, it was the Hyatt Regency Santa Clara. You can see that right there, Hyatt Regency Santa Clara. Yellow Productions recommends it on plan.com, so you know it's got to be good. Second place goes to Twin Acid. But sorry, Twin Acid, good answer, but the winner is Diana. Diana, send me an email to chris@yellow-productions.com. Link in the description below. And as usual, fellow explorers, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next video. But now you're armed with 22 ways to get good deals and discounts on hotels. And if you didn't sign up for plannin.com, go do it now and get yourself 15% off the Hyatt Regency in Santa Clara. All right, till next time.